New questions today about the president's vision for America, thanks to a 14-year-old recording that is just surfacing now. In it, a young state senator, Barack Obama, states that he believes in the redistribution of wealth.
I think the trick is figuring out how do we structure government systems that pool resources and hence facilitate some redistribution, because I actually believe in redistribution, at least at a certain level, to make sure that everybody's got a shot.
That was recorded in 1998. One could make the argument that those were the words of an inexperienced young man. But 10 years later, in 2008, in a now infamous moment with Joe the plumber, then presidential candidate Barack Obama said basically the same thing.
It's not that I want to punish your success. I just want to make sure that everybody who is behind you, that they've got a chance at success too. Right now, everybody's so pinched that business is bad for everybody. And I think when you spread the wealth around, it's good for everybody.
Jump ahead to April of 2010. During a campaign event, the president once again touched on the distribution of wealth.
We're not trying to push financial reform because we begrudge success that's fairly earned. I mean, I do think at a certain point you've made enough money.
Joining me now to discuss it, Leslie Marshall, syndicated radio talk show host and a Fox News contributor, and Chris Plante, radio host of The Chris Plante Show. So, I mean, it's 1998, Chris. Does anybody care?
Sure, yeah, it's part of a pattern. You know, it's a pattern of behavior that goes back decades, and it doesn't end with, there was an interview in 2001, also at Chicago Public Radio, where he talked about the Supreme Court not being the right mechanism, or the courts, for redistribution of wealth. And every argument that the president has made, quite honestly, from the time he began running for president, has been about essentially redistribution of wealth, how unfair our country is, how people don't get a fair shake. He's demonized the, Wall Street and the bankers, the corporate jet owners, the fat cats, the silver spoon references. Class warfare and redistribution are cornerstones of this presidency.
Leslie, the problem for the president, if there is one, with this soundbite, is that, as we showed in that introduction, it isn't just one random comment. It confirms, but in much more explicit terms, something that many have believed about his philosophy for a long time, that he does believe in sort of taking from one group and redistributing it to another.
Oh, I don't disagree. Some people do feel that way. But I think this also shows that a couple of things. One, that he is consistent. He is consistent with what he has said since 1998 to the present. And what he means by that is what he's been saying all along, which is fairness. And in 1998, speaking of fairness, he was speaking specifically about the city government, more effective government. Now, as opposed to robbing from the rich to give to the middle class and the poor, well, it would seem that Chris and my buddies over there on the right want to do quite the opposite, and that we've been doing that for a long time. Having said that, I think this is very, very clear that Mitt Romney and the GOP are frightened. The poll numbers show they have a reason to be today, with the president not only across the board but in swing states specifically, and so they're desperate, and they're like, let's reach for something from 1998. That's how I'm viewing it.
Chris, Leslie says that the president has been concerned all this time about fairness. The question is, fairness to whom?
Well, it's clear that he thinks we live in a terrible and an unfair country where people don't pay their fair share, people don't get a fair shake. All evidence to the contrary. And yeah, the president has been consistent in his call for redistribution of wealth. And if you want to, hang your hat on that, then please go ahead and do so. He's talking about fairness in the context of class warfare for almost entirely political reasons and for economically ideological reasons. He is a redistributionist. He's a statist. He believes in government intervention to allegedly level the playing field. But, honestly, this country has been more fair to more people than any country in the history of the world. And what these guys are trying has been attempted again and again and again, and has never produced better results than the system that we've been living with, as Leslie said somewhat dismissively, for quite some time. Yes, we advocate a free market system because we believe it functions best. We believe it gives people, the most people, the greatest amount of opportunity for success, not for mediocrity. And that's what this country has been functioning on quite well, thank you very much, for quite some time. And let me just throw in one more thing, if I could, not to hog the time. But, the president in this 99% versus the 1% thing, that is a classic demonstration of, and it's that's purely political, of course, of trying to take from one group and identifying 99% of us as victims.
I want to ask you, Leslie, because the remarks back in 1998, he talked about in the context of, I actually believe in redistribution. He talked about, in terms he talks about all the time today, make sure everyone's got a shot, leave nobody down, leave nobody behind. We're all in this thing together. That actually is what has some people concerned now, because that's the same language he uses on the campaign trail now, minus the, I actually believe in redistribution.
You know, again, I think for me personally, and for many Democrats and quite frankly many voters, you know, redistribution comes down to semantics. Is it fair? Is it redistribution? When we look at, as an example, a college student or somebody who wants to go to college and wants to take out a loan, is that looking for a government handout, or is that looking for an opportunity? When we look at Bush tax cuts, is that the middle class and the poor helping the rich to have more that we're hoping they'll create jobs with, they'll stimulate the economy with? Is that redistribution of wealth? So I do think we get down to semantics with this. I don't think the president is saying anything different. And certainly in 1998, he was specifically talking about a more effective city government and his position at the time as a state legislator in the state of Illinois then.
Very interesting. Well, this week has been the battle of the dueling, you know, caught on tape moments. First Mitt Romney, now Barack Obama. And it's not likely to end anytime soon. Leslie, Chris, thank you both so much.
Thanks, Megyn.
Missed you in Ireland, Megyn.
Oh, I know. I would have loved to have been there. Long story.
It was great. You got to do it next time.
Long story. We'll tell you later.